One of the things I'm going to want to do is set up my desktop screen just like I want it. I'm going to take all the apps and I'm going to want to put them into folders. Otherwise, I'm going to have pages and pages of apps. And it's going to be really hard to focus my students on the ones that are important to me. I usually try to separate games, things that I'm using for incentives, into a games folder. That's a folder that the students need to know are just there for incentive purposes. They're not to be used daily. They're only going to be used for like indoor recess, or if we do a special class reward or something, that they've earned the privilege to use that. I want to separate those things from my daily use apps. I have one marked daily options. These right now are the apps that I'm using every day. They're ones that, for example, I like things like Moby Max. So I put a desktop icon to that, a folder icon to that from the Safari browser, so the kids will go directly there. I like this one called Math Academy. We have a subscription to Learning A to Z. 1 Minute Reader. As the year goes on and I find ones that I'm going to be putting into my lesson plans, those are apps that I want to separate from the ones that are just for fun for the kids. These are the ones like dry erase apps. Those are things I'd use daily, where I might have the students pick one of the dry erase apps, so that way I have things like dry erase, chalk, Doodle Buddy. These are free apps that they can use where the iPad now becomes an interactive dry erase board. We can pop that up on our Apple TV, but these are things that I want up there to be used daily. Storage. If I want my kids sending me things through Google Drive or Dropbox, I put those in the storage section. I have a calculator and a dictionary. Let's say I want to keep those bundled together. So I'm going to tap, hold down. Now that it's shaking, I'm going to let go on top of dictionary. And that will make a new folder called utilities. I can tap on that and call that folder whatever I wanted to. Let's say I wanted to call it reference. So I'm going to tap and delete that. Type in reference. Click done. Tap my little button. And now I have a folder. The advantage of setting up the folders ahead of time is you can make a master backup of this with all of the settings. I'm also going to go into my settings and set up all of my restrictions. I'll go General, Restrictions, and also set up all of the restrictions that I want for this iPad, anything that I want to turn on and off. And I'll do a master backup of the whole thing. So remember to go through this, and every teacher is going to have different options on what they want for restrictions. A lot of these you're going to set up through Apple Configurator. This is only if you want to go through manually and set one up yourself to see what each of these options are before you set it up for the kids. So you have the option to turn each of these things on, they're green, off is when they're white. So you can turn on and off any of these different features that you don't want your kids. Let's say you have a lot of problems with your kids with the camera. You're like, you know what, I don't really use the camera for anything educational right now. You can turn that feature off right that way. You can also do this in Configurator, which is more than likely where you're going to turn these things on and off. But I just wanted to show you just for purposes so you can see for yourself how these things work on the set iPad to do it that way. So you're going to want to make that master copy backup. That's going to go onto your MacBook, and you're going to use that one mainly. The main purpose for doing this is for setting up your folders, because that's the one thing you can't do in Configurator. You need to set up your folders first on a master copy, so that way it knows where to put the apps. So you want it to take to one of the iPads. Download as many of the apps as you've currently purchased, whether they're free apps or not, because when you're free apps, you really are technically purchasing them because you're downloading them to the iPad and they're going into your iTunes account. So you want to take one iPad and download as many of them as you currently have, and any shortcuts to the Safari browser that you put on too, like Moby Max, because that's a website, that's not an app. I just made a shortcut from the browser and I put that in that daily options folder. Set that up just the way you want it. Make a backup of this, and what will happen is this particular iPad setup that I have right now will go to every single iPad. I can still add new apps later. They'll be in the rest of this area here. The kids can make them and put them into folders. They can put them into any of these folders you have here, or you can decide as a class to put them in a different folder. But this is great because you've got an automatic organization that's already in place that you drove just for a starting point.